G'day everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another one of my EV realist videos. In this series I attempt to put a more realistic view of the whole EV transition and net zero to contrast against the wildly optimistic and idealistic views that are currently being spruiked by our various governments around the world. So if you like this kind of content, it would be great to have you as a subscriber. So the headlong dash for EVs is due to the headlong dash to net zero. And similarly, the headlong dash for net zero is due to the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change telling the world that there is a climate emergency. The reason the IPCC believes that there is a climate emergency is because it banishes from its meetings and publications any climatologist or environmental scientist that says differently. It doesn't want a battle of ideas to get as close to the truth as possible. It just wants an echo chamber of environmental activists all saying the same thing. If you want to read the other side, and there most definitely is another side to this story, you have to go elsewhere. And I'll leave a link to one of the most recent papers in the description. Australia's Prime Minister from 2013 until he was unceremoniously stabbed in the back by a climate alarmist millionaire playboy called Malcolm Turnbull, was the country's last hope against fighting back against this climate emergency and net zero nonsense, which will set the planet's development back decades, if not centuries. And there's a refreshing article in the Australian today dealing with just this topic. So the headline reads, "Climate Change Science a Cult," says former Prime Minister Tony Abbott. Former Prime Minister Tony Abbott has slammed the government's plan for net zero carbon dioxide emissions by 2050 as not just utterly irrational, but actually impossible. In his most critical comments on climate policy since declaring climate change science was absolute crap in 2009. What a legend. Speaking at the launch of an Institute of Public Affairs report on Australian energy security, Mr Abbott predicted Australia would not meet any of the Albanese government's legislative targets for renewable energy supply recently enshrined in legislation for both scientific and political reasons. The climate cult will eventually be discredited. I just hope we don't have to endure energy catastrophe before that happens, he told an audience in London on the sidelines of the inaugural Alliance for Responsible Citizenship conference. Launching a report by engineer and economist Stephen Wilson entitled "Energy Security is National Security," Mr Abbott said Australian voters had and would continue to put their economic well-being ahead of demands to slash emissions in line with government plans to lift renewable energy to 82% of national supply by 2030. That's just over 6 years away. It's absolute madness. The anthropogenic global warming thesis, at least in its more extreme forms, is both ahistorical and utterly implausible, he said, arguing periods of significant climate change throughout history, including the Roman warm period and the medieval warm period, followed by the Little Ice Age, had nothing to do with human activity. But if you just read the IPCC reports, they've miraculously managed to smooth out the Roman warm period and disappear the medieval warm period down the memory hole because it's just inconvenient, so let's get rid of it. The fact that Romans grew grapes in Scotland, we don't want to know that. Mr Abbott led the federal coalition to power in 2013 on a promise to reverse Labour's emissions trading scheme, which has not been reintroduced since. The former Liberal Party leader and Prime Minister until 2015 also decried how Australia exported large quantities of coal, gas and uranium, but was reluctant to use them for its own domestic energy needs. "My country should be an energy superpower, not a green energy superpower, but an energy superpower," he told the supportive audience, including Senator Matthew Canavan. Last year, the government legislated to reduce Australia's net greenhouse gas emissions to zero by 2050 without recourse to nuclear power. Madness. Including a reduction in emissions by 43% from 2005 levels by 2030, in line with internationally agreed plans. The ARC conference featured speakers who similarly criticised the likelihood and desirability of moving toward net zero by 2050, including from Barack Obama's former Undersecretary for Science, Professor Stephen Koonin, who denied there was a climate emergency. "There is scant support for the notion of a climate catastrophe, climate emergency. We need to cancel the climate crisis," he said. "That's about the only thing that is worth cancelling in today's day and age, the climate emergency. The notion of an emerging energy revolution is just an oxymoron if you try and push things too fast," he added. So as you can see, this demonisation of fossil fuels is driven entirely by this climate alarmism from the IPCC. And if we could at least temper that and tone it down and make it at least a bit more realistic, then there wouldn't be so much of a mad dash to net zero, and there wouldn't need to be such a mad dash to EVs, and we could actually plan this transition sensibly, thinking about maybe alternative sources of fuel for personal transportation. But at the moment we're just rushing. We've just decided EVs is where we need to go, and we're just rushing, and no matter what the cost, we're going to do it. Wow, it's really hosing down outside. Climate change. Anyway, that's just about it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think. If you've got any tips, you can hit me up on Instagram or by email. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.